What if the laziest person in your office was secretly your most valuable employee? For one tech company, a notorious slacker named Leo was about to solve a multi-million-dollar problem, all because he was too lazy to do his job. For months, upper management at Innovatech Solutions had been baffled by a seemingly intractable problem. Customer refunds took a grueling 3 hours to process. Consultants were hired, studies commissioned, and countless hours wasted attempting to optimize a convoluted system. Meanwhile, Leo, our office's most notorious slacker, processed refunds with an air of nonchalant ease, deftly fitting the task between his streaming marathons and extended 2-hour lunch breaks. The turning point came on a day charged with tension. Our CEO, a storm cloud of a man, burst into the office, his face a thunderous red. A high-profile client from a major firm in downtown Metro City was on the brink of legal action over a delayed $50,000 refund. His eyes fell upon Leo, who, in his typical fashion, was half asleep at his desk. "You," the CEO commanded, "process this refund immediately." A palpable sense of impending disaster hung in the air. Yet Leo, barely looking up from his phone, mumbled a promise that sounded like a joke. "Give me 5 minutes." The CEO stood by, a ticking time bomb of impatience, to everyone's astonishment. Exactly 4 minutes later, Leo's voice cut through the silence. "Done." The CEO's phone buzzed with a confirmation from the client. The refund was complete. All hell broke loose. The head of operations, his voice a mixture of disbelief and outrage, demanded to know how Leo had accomplished in minutes what their multi-million-dollar optimized system took hours to achieve. Leo, with a simple shrug, revealed his secret. "I wrote a script that automates everything." While the rest of the company painstakingly followed a 47-step refund procedure, Leo had spent a single afternoon coding a program that did it all automatically. For months, he had been using it, finishing his work in minutes while giving the impression of hours of labor, a ruse that allowed him to indulge in his love for online video streaming. The CEO's fury was palpable, but it wasn't directed at Leo. It was aimed at everyone else. "You're telling me this kid solved a problem that's cost us millions in lost clients and consulting fees just because he was too lazy to do it the hard way?" An emergency meeting was called. Leo, now the center of attention, demonstrated his script exposing the ridiculously overcomplicated nature of the company's system. His program bypassed 30 unnecessary approval steps, 4 redundant verification processes, and the involvement of 3 separate departments. The following day, Leo was summoned to the CTO's office at the Innovatech Tower. Instead of being fired for his blatant disregard for protocol, he was offered a promotion. He was to head a new automation department, his first task being to identify and streamline other inefficient processes within the company. Leo accepted, but on 3 conditions. He could work from home in his suburban bungalow, have flexible hours, and keep his mini fridge. The company, recognizing his genius, agreed instantly. Within 6 months, Leo and his hand-picked team of self-proclaimed lazy programmers had automated a staggering 70% of the company's manual processes. But with great efficiency came great resistance. Other departments, fearing their jobs would become obsolete, began to sabotage Leo's projects. They would intentionally break his automated systems and then complain about their unreliability. Leo, however, was one step ahead. In another meeting in the main conference room, he calmly pulled up a screen displaying a list of every employee who had deliberately corrupted his code, complete with timestamps and their digital fingerprints. He had automated the very process of catching those who tried to sabotage his automation. The saboteurs were fired, but in a move that baffled everyone, Leo hired them all for his team. "They're smart enough to hack my systems," he reasoned, "but too lazy to do it without leaving traces." Perfect combination. 3 years later, the results were undeniable. Innovatech Solutions' processing times were down by 90%, and Leo's department had saved a staggering $50 million in operational costs. He still enjoyed his 2-hour lunches and streaming binges at his desk, but now he did so while his automated systems handled the work that once required hundreds of people. When a rival company from the East Coast tech hub offered Leo triple his salary, he declined with an automated response. "Writing resignation letters is too much work." The CEO, not to be outdone, immediately doubled his pay and added a second mini fridge to his office. The CFO might have grumbled about Leo's department seemingly doing nothing all day, but the CEO's laughter echoed the sentiment of the entire company. "Last quarter, their nothing saved us more money than every other department combined." Just when we thought things couldn't get more interesting, they did. 6 months later, one of Leo's original saboteurs rushed into the company cafeteria, his face drained of color. "It's happening," he stammered. The parent company, global tech conglomerate, had taken notice of Leo's department's success and wanted to replicate the model across all 17 of its subsidiaries worldwide. The catch? They needed Leo to personally oversee the global implementation. For a man who had built a system to order food delivery without touching his phone, the thought of extensive travel was a comical nightmare. The emergency board meeting was a spectacle. Bets were placed on whether Leo would quit or accept the nightmare promotion. His rumored $80,000 salary with stock options paled in comparison to the new offer, a $500,000 base salary, an unlimited travel budget, and executive benefits. At 20:55 p.m., Leo strolled into the boardroom on the top floor in his signature faded jeans and beat-up sneakers, a stark contrast to the pristine suits of the board members. As the CEO laid out the revolutionary opportunity, Leo listened for a mere 3 minutes before interrupting with a counteroffer. I'll build you a system that can implement automation anywhere, automatically, but I'm not leaving this building. The board was dumbfounded. You want us to pay you $500,000 to build something that replaces your own travel? One member asked. $500,000, Leo corrected. Plus, I get to hire a team of 20, have full creative control, and an unlimited budget for R&D. He yawned dramatically. The alternative is you spend the next 5 years trying to manually replicate what I did here, probably screw it up, and waste billions in the process. The CFO, who had been furiously crunching numbers, looked up with wide eyes. The projected savings from implementing your system company-wide would exceed $2 billion annually, he informed the board. At this scale, any delay costs us millions. Per day, Leo added, his feet now propped up on the conference table. Clock's ticking. I've got a series to finish. 10 minutes later, the deal was struck. When asked how soon he could start building this automated implementation system, he simply pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, and said, "Already done. I built it last year when I got bored during the company holiday party at the Grand Hotel." The head of HR nearly choked. "You're telling us you've had a multi-billion-dollar solution sitting on your laptop this whole time?" "Not my laptop," Leo grinned. "Company server in the main data center. Files called definitely not important, .exe. Been testing it on our system for months. That's how we've been so efficient." The following week, Leo arrived in a brand new luxury electric car. "Needed something comfortable for my 5-minute commute," he shrugged. "Plus, autopilot lets me watch shows during the drive." His new team of 20 of the laziest, most ingeniously work-avoidant employees from across the company's branches started the following Monday. Among them was Mia, fired from the accounting department in the regional office for rigging a photocopier to automatically scan and sort documents. And Ben, who had automated his weekly status reports so effectively that his manager nominated him for Employee of the Month, without realizing it. Leo's Laziness Labs quickly transformed from a company joke to its most valuable division. They weren't just automating tasks, they were eliminating entire job categories that, in retrospect, should never have existed. The payroll department shrank from 25 people to 3. The 6-week hiring process in human resources was condensed to 6 hours. The real chaos, however, began when Leo automated the automation itself, creating Lazy AI, an artificial intelligence that could analyze any business process and design automation solutions. When I pointed out that he was building himself out of a job, he simply raised an eyebrow. "Building myself out of work is literally my job description." Lazy AI's first project was to streamline the research division located in the adjacent research park, a move that cut costs by 40% while increasing output by 60%. The research director went from being a staunch critic to a fervent admirer. But Leo's ambition didn't stop there. He turned down multi-million-dollar offers from tech giants in Seattle and New York for his creations, responding with automated messages that highlighted his aversion to the effort of changing companies or becoming a billionaire. His next innovation, Mega Lazy, could predict and address corporate inefficiencies before they even occurred. Its first prediction was a mass resignation wave in the tech industry due to efficiency fatigue and performative productivity burnout. As other companies saw unprecedented turnover, Innovatech Solutions rates dropped by 70%. The breaking point for the wider industry came when a Fortune 500 CEO had a public meltdown during an earnings call, lamenting the fact that some guy who naps at his desk has figured out the secret to human happiness. That napping guy was, of course, Leo, who had missed the call while testing WorkNap, a system that optimized deep work cycles with strategic nap breaks. When a major business journal from London requested an interview, Leo sent his AI bot to answer their questions. The prestigious journal unknowingly published AI-generated wisdom for months. He then created Meeting Mortician, an AI that attended virtual meetings, summarized key points, and sent follow-ups, effectively dismantling the company's management structure by rendering most meetings obsolete. "I'm not dismantling your management structure," he told the chairman. "I'm automating the parts that were already automated. You just didn't realize it." He then challenged them to promote their managers to solve the hard stuff, the creative decisions, the human elements, the things AI can't do. 6 months later, the company had restructured around Leo's philosophy. Revenue doubled, and employee satisfaction soared. A major national magazine featured him on their cover with the headline, "The Man Who Solved Work." His only comment, "The AI generated that photo. I was too lazy to sit for it." His latest creations, Chatterboxed, which converts unnecessary chat messages into focused work time, and Execubot 3000, an AI CEO, continued to push the boundaries of what was thought possible. He even developed an educational platform, Lazy Learner, to teach children to be productively lazy. When the Capitol's administrative office called, Asking him to head a task force on government efficiency, he agreed to build them an autonomous system to run it, which he did in a week, cheekily naming it GovFlow. 5 years after that first automated refund, Innovatech Solutions' market cap has increased tenfold. A new generation of workers proudly identifies as productively lazy. Leo, still operating at his own pace from his office with 3 mini fridges, has a podcast called Automating While Sleeping, and is rumored to be working on a project labeled End Work. The true genius of Leo wasn't just in his code. It was in his recognition that human laziness, when properly channeled, could be the most powerful force for innovation in history. As our CEO recently mused, the board's biggest fear was that Leo's laziness would be contagious. Turns out, he said, gesturing to a calmly focused and productive office in the heart of Silicon Hills, that's exactly what we needed. And somewhere across that office, with his feet propped up, Leo was already innovating our next obsolescence, all between streaming episodes and power naps.